To you too.
Yeah, pretty much. Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 496 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Paul E. Cooley, and joining me today is my wonderful, sexy, Zeus-like co-host, Terry Kiss My Ass Mixon. You have to speak in order for them to see you do that.
Oh, too bad.
Damn it. He was flexing his muscles. You missed his Popeye moment. I know all those who are interested in how he looks. He's doing it again.
I'm doing it again. Here we go. So you can see it. There we go.
There we go. That's
I'm
what
doing great, Paul. Doing great.
Good.
Productive. Writing on a story. Excited about a story. Wanting to write 2 stories. Totally screwed up.
Good. I'm glad
Just
we're on
like
the
writers.
same wavelength. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength.
I need more time, damn it.
Yeah, more time, more energy, more everything. So
hey, I did good today. I wrote 3,000 words today, or 3,500 words today, if you count the other 500 words I added to my story idea that I can't write yet. So there.
That I can't write yet, that I'm writing right now.
I'm not writing the story. I'm writing ideas for what the story might be.
Gotcha. Okay. I gotcha. All right, fine. Yeah, well, as a Balticon, I saw you post something about you had a 4,000 word day or a 4,800 word day or something on those lines. It sounds like you were really productive this weekend.
I was productive this weekend. I'm thinking I'm finally hitting the stride of this, writing every day, where I'm kicking it up a notch from where I had been. Even with this month going out to spend a week in Pittsburgh, I still think I'm going to get about 40,000 words. Nice. So I can't complain. Nice. I can't complain at all.
That is wonderful. I am so proud of you. So proud of you. I, on the other hand, am big slacker.
You slacker.
I got 2,000 words written while at Balticon, plus a number of breakthroughs on some story ideas. So that was good, because it's really going to help me clear get some things up and sprint to the end of this book and the Black 4. So it's really, really going to help me going forward. So I just need to get some day job shit accomplished, all the recording I have to do done, and in between there fit a lot of work on these 2 books.
Have you considered cloning yourself? And if so, what rights would your clone have?
Oh, are we really going to get into that discussion? That was Well, folks, we recorded today's intro after we stumbled into the episode. So yeah, there's going to be a very extensive AI episode in your future.
You really should think about adding cloning to that particular theory in your book.
Because no, that's a completely different conversation. That is a completely different episode. We will go there later, some other time. Terry, please shut up, or you and I are never getting off these microphones.
I'm making a note as we speak.
You're making other topics to needle Paul with. Other than that, Balticon was fun. Sold books, got new folks interested in my work. People came up and asked me for business cards. It was kind of cool. And I can't wait to post some links to some of the panels I was on, assuming they were recorded. But I'm really going to have to get y'all to look at this Mythwits episode when it's actually dropped, because a wonderful lady was on one of the panels, and writer I'd never heard of, Catherine Acero, who's also a physicist. And it was a blast. So I'm gonna I had a really good time on that panel. I wasn't part of the panel. I was just in the audience, but still, it was amazing. So hopefully we'll get you links to that. But Balticon was good. Got to see all my peeps, and was a wonderful time. I just didn't get as much writing done as I should have. But wah. It was a convention.
It was a convention. You were expected to have a good time while you were there. You were expected to network with other people. You should have come out of that sucker with just a billion ideas that you wanted to put into play all at once, and your creative life is going to explode, because that's how my last week has been. So I expect that's how your next week is going to be.
I think every time I come back from Balticon, I have a period, like a month or two, where it's just like brain on fire. And yeah, brain is definitely on fire right now, completely on fire. So I'm looking forward to this. This will be fun. This will be fun. I just got to write faster, Terry. Just got to write faster. That's all it takes, right?
You will make it.
So you say. So, along writing faster, along writing trying to tie up loose ends and figure out how stories should be told, we stumbled into an interesting topic a week or two ago. Do you remember that topic?
I do seem to vaguely remember that topic.
I think it had something to do with how you tell a story, how you use flashbacks, how you use time, those kinds of things. And since we have that, maybe this is the time to actually drop the episode.
I think we should.
And of course, we will discuss Terry's Aquanaught internet while we're at it.
Blub, 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 blub.
Yeah, something like that. So anyway,
I'm going to write a short story. I'm kind of changing subjects on you here.
You're going to write a short story?
I'm going to probably write several short stories because it's been a while, but one of them, oh my God, I don't know where the idea, actually I do know where the idea for this character came from. Hellboy. The idea came from Hellboy. I'm thinking of writing a cigar-chewing bounty hunter with a bad attitude. And I know that's as cliched as it gets, but somewhat reminiscent of Hellboy's attitude and his mouth.
Mm.
And I'm going to call him Zag the Bounty Hunter.
Zag
the Bounty Hunter.
And what kind of what century would this be in?
Far future. Space travel, the whole 9 yards. The initial scene I have of him is the spaceship has landed and the landing dock is going, gets to hearing sticks and won't move. So he has to go out to the end of it and jump up and down on it until it starts lowering back down again. While the people he's going out to confront are standing there going, really?
I like that. I love that. All right, everybody gear up. And it's just like, it's awesome. I like this. I wish I had the opportunity to make, to write more scenes like that in the books I've been working on. I would love to be able to do that more.
Really, scenes is where I get off on short stories. It's got to have some scene or some singular character aspect that I want to illuminate.
Yeah.
That just makes the whole short story worthwhile. Now, of course, following the cliche trail that everyone has to hit going through these kind of stories, there's going to be a girl. There's going to be a teenage girl that he should, by all rights, not get involved with. But he's going to have to go ahead and get involved. He's going to literally walk away from her being in trouble and get about 10 steps and go, God, I hate myself. And turn around and go back and stick his face into somebody else's trouble to get her out of it. And she's going to end up being his partner in other stories. So, of course, after he tells her his name, she's going to say, yeah, my name's Zig. And he's going to be like, it is not Zig. What's your name? That's my name. That's the way it's got to be.
This is cheese ball corn at its freaking best.
And I'm going to have a really fun time writing this story too.
It's just basically going over the top. I like to use, I've been putting, little scenes like that in with my Gravediggers. And if you know the literary illusion, I'm talking about Shakespeare's Hamlet at the beginning of the third act, or is it fourth? I can't remember. Anyway, there's a conversation, and Shakespeare did this with, I think, most of his plays, where he would start after intermission, so to speak, with two characters that were not related to the main action of the play, but they were there to provide a humorous interlude or dirty talk about sex, the stuff that was considered racy at the time. And all of that was to basically keep the groundlings. These are people who bought the tickets of the place, but they're poor, dirt poor, but they're all up the front and they tended to come in pretty wasted into the plays. This was to get them to shut up. So they would pay attention to what was going on. Everybody was laughing, and then suddenly they would settle down with the rest of the crowd. Interesting device.
Yeah, I agree.
So I use that with like the scene in Outbreak that's you and Macumber. That basically, well, I don't even know. Well, you heard me read it. I read it at Balticon. That where the two of you are he's your boss, and you're walking through there, and we get all these thoughts of that character, and I get to do all these funny things with both of you, and then those people are gone from the book.
Yeah.
They're just in there to show something funny, to lighten things up, and then have something horrible happen to them. So I gave you a chance to breathe and then sucker punch you.
Yeah. Totally true.
Those are fun moments. But yeah, those are really short story material. All of them are. All of them are. Absolutely.
And honestly, I keep hearing that I should think about doing things like doing a Patreon, and I say, I'm never doing anything that's worthwhile doing it. I thought for a while about producing like a short story a month for Patreon first, and I might do something like that, or I might do a serial with a character like that.
I think doing a serial with a character like that sounds like a really good idea.
So I'm leaning towards serial at this point, because that seems like the way serials go. You could write about a novel's worth of serialized fiction and release it to the Patreon every, say, 5 days. Release a 2,000 word rough scene, couple of scenes or whatever it is that hit that, if you form it right. And I've got experience writing serialized fiction before. I have done this. The rule is write it all before you do it.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever.
God damn it. You're not supposed to say this shit out loud where people are going to hear it. You're supposed to say, don't do this. Why? Because I've done it and it was bad. Bad, bad. Don't think you could do it and get away with it.
Sadly, I have done it and it worked brilliantly.
It worked. I'm lying, though, because it kind of worked with Garaga's children, too. So anyway, continue.
But I don't want to spend the time to write the entire thing before I do it. I've completed 13 novels on my own already. I have no doubt that I can and will complete this thing if I write 6 or 10 scenes ahead of time. Then I've got plenty of space to go back and edit little details, because it tends to be when I'm writing, if I need to change something, I only have to go back a couple of chapters to change it. I don't typically get to the middle of the book and go, oh, I needed to change this character that was at the very beginning. That's not how it works. Because once you publish a part of a serial, that's canon. You're now committed to that.
That's the hardest part.
So as long as I can get 5 or 6 episodes in advance before I do it, then I have no worries that I'm going to have published something that I'm going to need to change.
Right. I thought you were saying basically you were just going to do it as, right before the deadline every week kind of deal.
No, I absolutely do not want to do that. Now, copy editing a serial might be much more challenging.
Comedy?
Copy editing.
Oh, copy editing. Yes, sorry. Finally heard what you said.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about that. I'm still going to have to think about it, but I'm almost certainly going to start a Patreon at some point before next year doing something like that. But I'm going to write that short story about Zag the Bounty Hunter first, because it's going to set the characters together.
Yeah. Or, well, yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't have to do much more than that. It can introduce the two characters to each other and bind them together. And then I can do a serial. Well, shit. It's hard. I want to write this short story, but it might be best starting the serial with that short story. It's tough, but I'm going to do something with it.
How much of Firefly did you watch?
I watched about 6 or 8 episodes.
Well, that's pretty much all there is.
I watched about half of what was available in the season, whatever that amount was.
I think it's 9 with 2 bonus episodes, or maybe it's 10 with 2 bonus.
Do not know, but I got about halfway before I stopped watching it.
Okay. It's because you're a bad person.
It's because it was a terrible show.
Oh, my God.
Fight! Fight! Fight!
Why was it a terrible show, Mr. I Love Corny?
Because the characters never really gelled together. it was a bunch of individuals, and the story just never caught me. It seemed fabricated, and I never got past it.
Did you watch it when it was actually on TV?
No, I rented a DVD and watched the episodes, and I think I actually got about 4 or 5 episodes in. I said, I'm done.
Okay. Interesting.
It's just a matter of taste. It's obviously a show that had a big following, and I'm not trying to denigrate anybody's feelings on the matter. It didn't work for me.
So you're wanting to pick a fight, but then you backtrack like that bullshit.
It's true. I say inflammatory things, and then I back away because, I'm not intending to actually start a fight.
So goddamn passive aggressive. Look, cut that shit. I think tell me if I'm wrong on this. Would you rather start if you're reading books or you're watching a movie or TV show, whatever, would you rather it begin with the characters already having a relationship and not knowing any of what it is, and just have them go through and you get a feel for the sense of who these folks are, but don't have any details till later on in the book, maybe even a next book? Would you rather have that versus doing that kind of thing in flashback?
I would much rather discover the characters as we go than do flashbacks.
Would you rather discover the characters when they first meet, or would you rather have the story start when they're already got their shit together?
I actually don't care one way or the other.
Okay. I'm trying to get a sense because it seemed like, especially because of what you were terming flashbacks and doing all this other crap, you were basically trying to tell me that you couldn't bring any of that stuff in or didn't want to bring that stuff in. And since you said that,
I react negatively to flashbacks. I'll admit it.
And again, we have a different definition of flashback. But at the time, and based on some of your comments about certain books or certain TV shows, it seems like, on average, you seem to like the deal where there is no origin story because it is the origin story.
I can buy into that.
Okay. I'm just going to say that you're colored by certain aspects of that.
Sure. And I'll certainly agree to it.
Okay.
We are our own biases.
Oh, absolutely. I find that interesting because I like it the other way around.
There's no accounting for taste.
But it makes the storytelling style different.
It does.
And so and what I found is that it seems to me that what I've seen anyway, there are folks who really want to get at the beginning of something. And then there are folks who like, where we're in the now, well, we're going to visit yesterday. We're going to visit yesterday. And in order to bring up something that's very, very important to what's going on at that point. And through those moments, you learn all these things about the characters.
All right. I've got a thought about that, but it suddenly got hot in here. I'm going to plug in a small fan to run in the background because I am just sweating myself silly here.
You were Mr. Technical Difficulties.
What? I can't hear you. Something seems to have gone wrong with my earphones right now.
What a dick. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have not started the show. Although we just did for some reason. Apparently, so is your internet.
What did my internet do?
You look like somebody smeared Vaseline on the screen, man.
I'm melting.
All right, you have some thoughts on that, but
I do. The thoughts I have on that, using the Zag the Bounty Hunter idea that I just mentioned, if I had a choice between watching that from just prior to Zag meeting Zig and their stories developing and them learning about each other in the midst of what they're doing, or having flashbacks to what Zag was doing there, or what Zig was doing to get in the trouble she was in, I would much rather do it in a linear flow than to have flashbacks illuminate why they're doing what they're doing.
Okay. What about in the case where you're going back 20 years, where you got a story?
You realize we're actually doing the show right now again, that we've already started the show again.
Yes, I know. We started about 20 minutes ago. I already just said that while you were plugging in a fan and trying to find, something better than Aquanaught internet or something. Anyway, God, you tore me right off my fucking topic. What about cases where I'm thinking It here?
Mm-hmm.
So where the way that story is told.
I've never actually read It, so
Okay,
I don't really know.
Let me give you the example. You get a character, you get their point of view in the now. And in some cases, that triggers an immediate point of view change in the next chapter that goes backward. In other words, it happened 20 years ago.
I hate those kind of stories.
You hate those kind of stories. Why?
Because I'm invested in the now. I want to see the character develop now. I think that it's weak storytelling to go back and use the past to explicitly tell something that's happening in the now rather than having the events currently doing it.
Even when you got that period of time.
Even when you've got that period of time.
So in that case, you would basically do what they did with It for the movies, the modern ones, the one that just came out. They took all those portions of what happened in their past. They put that together as one film.
Yes, then I think that's probably a better example of what I would like.
Okay.
I haven't seen the film either, so, and I probably wouldn't like it based on story matter because that's just not my kind of bag, but the storytelling style, I think, would appeal to me more.
Interesting. I would like to know the percentage of folks that have a bias one way or the other. Because for instance, with Tony Downs, when I write that book, I want to set it in the here and now. But due to some of the things that are going to crop up in that book, I'm going to have to go back and explain a few things. And what I realized is I could write a very large book if I wanted to, that is written in that style of the way that Stevie wrote It. And the reason why I would write it that way is because if I start at the beginning of how this mess started, then I am making canon. And the other part of that is that it means that I couldn't weave in certain portions of suspense and you would not see certain things coming. And that's kind of an issue. So I've thought about this, do you start at the beginning or do you do this, or what's the other option? You put out the modern story, which is going to be much more exciting than this other story, and you finish this one and then write the prequel. I mean, there's all these different ways you can do this shit, and I've seen all of them work, and I've also seen quite a few that have failed.
That's true of any kind of storytelling. Right.
But I would love to know what the bias is, because I personally don't have a problem with it, how it's done. I would much prefer that a significant portion of time had passed before we get into the next, and that's when you use this device for significant amount of times passed.
The problem I see with that type of doing it is that it can also easily be done if you've got a second party that was not part of whatever the events were having to be brought up to speed. And that's how many storytellers do it. That's how I would do it. That's my personal preference. If using Zig and Zag again, that they're going to be interacting with each other to illuminate who Zag has come after, who is chasing Zig. All of those events are going to be illuminated while ducking and having people shoot at them, mind you, in their interaction with each other. I'm not going to do a flashback to show them arriving there, to show the backstory of who she was, for two different reasons. One, I want to conceal as much of their backstory as possible.
Yeah, different kind of book.
And it's not because I necessarily have anything to hide, because I literally at this point know nothing about the characters.
Right. Yes.
I write into the dark. So it suits me not to write anything about their backstory because it's not important. Sooner or later, I'm going to come across an idea that because I've never mentioned anything in their backstory, it's going to become vitally important to what they're doing, and I will never have seen it coming. But it's just my personal storytelling style. That's the type of story I enjoy reading, and I write the kind of things that I enjoy reading. So it's definitely me. And if the other works for anyone else, that's perfectly good for them. I'm going to make the guess, though, that most people would prefer the story to play out in the here and now as opposed to flashbacks. I think that most people in general storytelling don't like stories with flashbacks. Some people do. I'll wager many people don't particularly care for them. We should do a poll.
Yeah, maybe I'll try and put together a poll on that if I can figure out how to explain it, because it is kind of difficult to actually explain.
I think your literary heritage may be coloring your feeling on how you tell this story, these particular stories, because it seems like flashbacks are much more common in that genre.
That may be true. I was just actually thinking about that in the books that I know where that situation comes up, and you know, I've seen Peter F. Hamilton do it two ways, but primarily he likes to go as chronological as possible. Seems like
the most recent book that I had to read that had that kind of stuff in it was Hyperion, because it was one of the assigned books that we did.
Right. I can't even remember that one.
I'm now saying I believe it had flashbacks. That was really, every time we went and changed from the current to what was somewhere in the past, just knocked me out of the story.
Okay. I think it has to be a case where you have multiple characters and it's got to be done right. There has to be a significant reason for it. It just seems like it's very difficult to do, I guess, what I'm talking about. If Tony finds a case, maybe it's the case that leads him into the Garaga stuff. Okay. And that happens in his 20s. But I need to write right now about some of these other things that are related to what happened back there. So then we have this problem because it becomes kind of like what's going on with the satellite war and the Schiaparelli rebellion. I'm sitting there dropping hints all over the place about that book, about those books and what those things are, because if I write those books, I need to plant those. I can't go back and change what's in Derelict.
It's true.
And so basically I'm guarding myself against that, because there may be some other things I want to do and leave those possibilities open. But if I don't address them now, it's going to be a problem. If I decide to write those stories, it just will, because it should have been mentioned in the first 3 books or the first 5 books, however many books are here.
It's always a challenge. And believe me, I run into that challenge all the time as my storytelling goes on. I'm lucky that since I don't mention a lot of details, I can occasionally squeak things in and go, yeah, we're just going to add this right here, this story element right here, and continue to march. And nobody said a single thing to me about them. And I'm so happy.
So, I'm thinking those kinds of I'm trying to take those kinds of issues into mind and trying to avoid putting that kind of canon down at this point, because I want it to start where it starts. I already have a little bit of canon I have to deal with and have to clear up a few things. So that's kind of where I would like to start. Plus, it would bring in the rest of the books that are going to come after this and sets everything up. And since it is urban fantasy-ish, although albeit very dark urban fantasy, it will just make writing the other books easier.
See, one of the things that I've heard somewhere in writing books that makes total sense to me is only drop the hooks that you absolutely have to drop. If you don't have to mention how many siblings your character has, don't. Because it may be important that you suddenly have an estranged sister
Yeah, yeah. Like we find out with certain characters in the long-running series, is oh wait, you have a sister? When the hell did you mention this?
Exactly. As long as you don't mention these things, you can get away with adding them later. So if you add a detail, it really needs to be something that you're adding for a purpose that you've already got in mind, not just some random detail, because you're going to be stuck with that random detail till the end of that series.
Yeah. And that, I think that's one of the problems that kind of crops up on my mind with a lot of these things is you end up creating that canon, and there's a lot of canon now with the Black. There's a lot of canon with Derelict. There's the canon is growing very, very quickly. It's growing with every book, and so I can only use a lot of the things I laid down in the first book to continue this on, because once you stray out of there, the reader could just basically go, oh, we're just going to make this shit up out of nowhere. We have to plant, so it's not like this, surprise. Because I hate that when it's done to me.
One of the things that Glenn Stewart has discovered about me as a co-author for the Vengeance books that he's written with me is that there have been at least 2 times, maybe 3, that I've taken what he's considered a minor throwaway character that had no purpose for anything and brought them back around later on and made them an important and integral plot element.
Butters.
Yeah, Butters would work. The one I'm thinking about in this particular one is there was just a throwaway villain that had one scene in the earlier duology. And the book I just finished with them, just out of pure happenstance, Glenn had the events taking place on the same moon as they had the confrontation with that character. So I brought that character back to be a thorn in their side again, just because I could, because he was close by and I could drag him back in and make him an even bigger problem for them right then because of proximity. So always keep track of where you've left little pieces, because you never know when you're going to wander close to them again, and they might actually be useful for something.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just fun to keep them going, because in Trident, I've already come across this. Now it's time to lay down some rules. I have to start laying down some rules. And so I give them a little bit of a discovery before they're going to go do what they do, so that when this discovery actually pans out for them much later in the book, people aren't going to think we surprised them.
Hell, I surprise my damn self so often. I'm writing in Clan Wars right now. And so I look back at the ending few chapters of the book that led into this one. And one of the things I did, literally just about at the end of the book, I made a giant revelation about some aliens that Princess Kelsey found. And I'm not going to spoil what those revelations were, but I still haven't got the slightest idea
what that is,
what that's going to end up being. I'll put it out here. I went ahead and called these aliens Pandorans because they're pretty much look like humans. They're blue with black hair, a little bit larger eyes, kind of pointy teeth, but remarkably human-like in appearance, considering, that you would expect aliens to differ wildly in having 2 arms, 2 legs, bilaterally symmetrical, and look like human beings in space. Okay. And the comment was made, they look awfully like humans for aliens in this. So I went ahead and tipped my hat there. But at the end of the book, I went ahead and had the doctor come up to her and go, yeah, there's a problem. Yeah, I was looking at the blood that we had collected because we treated some of the injured aliens, and there's a problem with their DNA. And when I use DNA, I actually mean DNA, as in, I can't even pronounce the dionucleotic, whatever the hell. I can't even pronounce the scientific word. He says, it's really that. It's 96% human. And they're like, what? Where the hell did that come from? It was done tens of thousands.
Ribonucleic acid.
Yes. It was done tens of thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago. Nobody has any idea what it means. And neither does I. I have no idea what that really means. Who did it? No clue.
I planted something in Destruction that freaked out two of my beta readers pretty hardcore, and I have no idea what it means yet. But it's canon now.
I like throwing big monkey wrenches in there like that, because when I come back to start doing the writing, I will eventually get around to figuring out what it means.
That is, yeah.
And when you leave something big like that for yourself to come back to, it will inspire you as you start writing to say, how can I tie this in? What does it really mean? And when you keep yourself writing the story where you don't know where it's going, when you're writing into the dark going, wow, I have no idea where this is really going and what this is going to turn out like, then you are just as excited as the reader as you're writing it, because it's discovery, baby.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot of fun. It's just one of those. It's the situation where I'm keeping a notepad of things that have to happen, right? As I've figured out so far from the stuff that I've laid down in the first 3 books, here are the things that have to happen in this book. They simply have to. I have to address them. They're too important for the next book for me not to address them right freaking now. So it's come around to, I'm looking at these puppies and going, oh, right. I need to, yeah. So it's stuff you lay down, and then you go back and you look at that, and it gets you excited to write the next book in the series.
Well, I do that as well. So here's the shocker for everybody. I do outline now. Unfortunately, I outline as I write. I finish the scene and I wrote down what happened. I don't try to figure out what's happening next, but I make sure and document who was there, what they were wearing, what they were doing, so that if I have to go back through my notes to figure out what the hell I just did, I'm going to, from this book forward, I am going to have a yellow notepad that has the outline of what took place in this book that I can refer back to, rather than going, gosh, I wish I knew what happened in that book I wrote last year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be a problem, big time.
So tell me, when you're busy getting excited about putting all of these hooks in there, do you ever get to the end of book 1 and then you've planted all these hooks and you go, no, I really want to go this other direction and curve off to the left and just go nuts out here into this unknown territory?
It depends. I haven't done that. Haven't had to do that yet. I haven't had to do that yet with the black. That was really easy because of those 2 hooks I planted, I got 2 more books out. And there's no other really big hooks that I left besides where people ended up. Well, well, never mind. I'll shut up. I'm not going to do spoilers here. The
spoilers.
I think that the big plot or the big surprises of that are going to be drawing the reader's attention back to little throwaway scenes that they may or may not have caught. Or if they did catch it, they're like, wait a minute. Is Cooley off his rocker? Because he's describing this differently. There's a reason for it. And we'll get to that in the next book. That's the big thing I have to remedy in that particular way. So that one's going to be fun to write too when I finally get off my ass and go tackle it. But yeah, I haven't had to do that kind of thing of veering off to the left or wanting to. Haven't had to.
Well, when you ride into the dark, you don't know where left is going to end up being. So you can leave some big hooks out there. I've left a number of large hooks in various books that I've written in this series, and I've utilized a couple of them to further advance the story books down later on the line, because I lay the potentiality out there. For example, in the books you've already read, you met the alien Omega.
Right. Yeah.
That was in the station around the remnants of a nova. Part of his condition is that station can open pathways to alternate realities. It's not something they can do often. It's not something you can do very, very quickly, but that's fed into later plots in the books. And I'm surprised as few people as have complained about me bringing in people from an alternate reality. I really expected to get more pushback out of that.
I think it just it's kind of funny because The Expanse, and I guess I'm doing this too with Derelict. The humans are bound by a lot of physical laws. A lot of physics applies. In fact, pretty much all the physics apply. Not so much to what they're dealing with. So what they're dealing with is basically playing by a different set of rules, completely different set of rules. And they haven't really drawn too much. That I don't remember them drawing a whole lot of attention to that in the books. Like the fact that, well, no, never mind. There's a communication mechanism that's faster than light. I'll just put it that way. But the humans don't have access to it, but it exists. So it breaks all the physical laws. I don't think they ever really get hung up on that. And I don't think they ever spend a whole lot of time with the scientists or whatever talking about it or exploring it. And everybody just accepts that it is.
And if you do it well with those kind of stories, you can introduce fantastical elements like alternate people. And you can introduce them into your story as long as the story's entertaining and the reader doesn't get bumped out. If it's something that is so jarring that it knocks the reader out, then you've made a mistake.
What I find interesting, I guess it
you have to keep entertaining. Once it stops being entertaining, you've run into a problem.
This is true. What I'm going to say is that with both The Black and Derelict, I'm having more fun about taking into observations and then throwing out ideas based on those observations and having these people freak out about it. Because that's the part of the hard science fiction that's in there, is having those elements in it, having those portions in there. And I find that to be just a lot of fun. And I wish more stories did that, but apparently because I'm writing them that way. But I like that idea of being able to do that. And I guess this is one way I've found to do it.
Well, one of the things that I've done that has a little bit spun out of my control is I intended to separate Princess Kelsey and Jared Mertz for a little while and then bring them back together. But the more that I have them separated, the more it looks like it's going to be difficult to bring them back together easily. So I'm going to have to short circuit some of my own rules in the universe to find a way to bring them back together. I've already figured out what I'm going to do to make that happen. Thankfully, I've got a handy genius that can go ahead and short circuit certain rules of reality.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
Well, think about this. They're separated by a vast amount of space. One of the things that I did that harmed myself as far as getting them back together is while there is communication that's faster than light, it's got a range limitation. So there's no big spoiler there. The problem is the two groups are outside of that range. What if I come up with a way for him to use that communication to send much simpler messages longer distance? So he could find a way to send a very brief, very limited kind of message that might reach the other party and at least get some kind of response that would get them headed in the same direction again.
A pulse, not a stream.
Yes, like a pulse, like Morse code as compared to HD video today.
Yeah.
Where they could send some information over a very time-consuming period of time and get enough of a response to go ahead and get them back on the same course. So I'm altering the rules of physics that I have laid down, but I left it vague enough to where the potential existed. So I'm going to go ahead and do it because I don't want them to spend 6 books apart. That would be a huge pain in my ass.
Half the books about Jared, half the books about Kelsey.
I really wanted to write a book each. I am now on the 3rd book where they're separated. Definitely going to have another one on the other side. And I want them back together at the end of that 4th book. I want them back together, and they will be back together.
God has spoken.
Noah. It's the Lord, Noah. What's a cubit?
What's a freaking anyway, I just thought it's interesting that the different storytelling styles, and I'm kind of like keeping track of this now. I just hadn't really thought about it before, and wanted to kind of bring that up because I just wonder if the market differs, if some types of fiction are more popular in specific genres based on how you tell the story.
That's an excellent question, and I don't know the answer to it. I suspect that there is. Certainly, if you get into a genre like romance, there are different styles of romance. You've got the sweet romances. You've got the romances that also have psychological crimes and murders and other things taking place in them. You've got the straightforward romances. I have no idea which of those is more popular with the readership. It's like mysteries, and you've got the cozies, you've got the police procedurals, you've got the noir, you've got all of those other kinds. And I am sure that they each have their audience. I couldn't tell you which ones are more popular. I suspect that they're all perfectly fine in whatever genre they're suiting. I think it comes back to people. People, whether we like it or not, we're tribal. We combine ourselves into a grouping. We find the things that we like, and we associate with the things that we like. If you like reading a specific kind of romance, you're probably going to keep reading that kind of romance. You're not going to be an omnivorous reader of all kinds of romance. You're going to find the ones you like, and when something pops up that looks like it's outside the spectrum, you're going to set it aside. You're going to go back to the things that are comfortable to you. And I think it's that way with every genre.
I just would love to know if somebody like Data Guy's ever run that.
I'm not sure how you could run that. Are you talking just in numbers, how popular various things are?
Yeah.
Yes, he's done that. Yes, he's done that.
But I'm talking about the actual, not the subgenre, the actual story style.
Oh, I'm sure he hasn't, because I'm not sure how you could identify which ones are story style.
You'd have to have somebody do the metadata for it.
You'd have to.
I have this feeling that somewhere they've run this study. I just don't know where. I just have this feeling.
Well,
but anyway,
I'm going to see him later this week, so maybe I'll ask him. Actually, I'm going to see him on a stage. I don't think I'm actually going to meet him.
I just think I would love to know. I would love to know that, because I guess it'd be easy enough to go crunch the TV numbers to look at which TV shows do it versus which ones don't in that same genre. But then you've got the quality problem, and you've got all the it's subjective. Anyway, if you could isolate such a thing, I wish I wish I could see the numbers.
I'm trying to remember. Did we ever have Hugh Howey on this show? I think we did.
We did.
It's been so long that I can't remember.
It was many years ago.
But it was a long time ago. I may have to tag
in the 200s.
I may have to tag base with him and ask him if he's written any stories since we talked to him last.
That's easy.
I'm being sarcastic. Stop me now. He hasn't published a whole lot of new things recently, so I'm being a jackass.
No, you really? I'm shocked.
I know, it's awful.
I wonder if Isaac Asimov's put out anything. Oh, that lazy son of a bitch.
I'm wondering if Hugh's going to bring his sailboat to the convention.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I know. That's all I've heard him talk about recently. Well, while I was following his blog, that's all he was talking about was sailing. So never mind.
The best 2 days of your life: the day you buy a boat and the day you sell it.
Oh, that's harsh.
I've heard that. I've never owned a boat. I just know every person that I know that has had a boat. They don't have a boat anymore.
That's so harsh.
It's absolutely true. I don't know, because I've never done it. I have no opinion on the matter. I'm just saying that old saying seems to apply in many, many cases.
Well, if sailing is your bag, rock on. I'm saying he must really be enjoying the sailing, because he hasn't put out a whole lot of new fiction since then.
Yeah, well, true. I don't know.
I don't know either. Obviously, he's doing just
what he wanted to do, and he's done.
Maybe that's the case.
Would Terry Mixon stop writing if he suddenly made $3 million?
No.
Would Terry Mixon become even more of a douchebag if he had $3 million?
Yes. Absolutely, yes.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, I'm sure that was a huge shock to our audience who would never imagine that would be the case.
I'm personally am flummoxed, bewildered, beside myself. Mind
You know those people that say that they could win the lotto and stay working at their jobs? They are lying sacks of shit.
I've heard it. Even if they did want to, it's impossible.
Probably
because of all the baggage that brings with it, and it gets ugly very quickly.
Luckily, with writers, we don't have coworkers. We don't have bosses, other than the ones we choose to marry ourselves to. So, and of course, cats. There's always cats. But in any case, you can go ahead, and if I won the lotto, I might change houses. I might change where I live. I might change some of the things around it. But I write because I like writing, not because it's what I got to do.
Okay.
So I don't foresee that changing.
You don't foresee that changing. Well,
I certainly wouldn't care about reviews. Fuck you and your 1 star. I'd send Jay and Silent Bob to your house to F you up.
Moviepoopshoot.com. Oh, so bad. So bad. It's a pair of butt cheeks with the film coming down the ass crack.
What were those guys on when they came up with that shit? That's awesome, right?
The sad part is Kevin Smith didn't smoke ganj before whichever movie that was. I guess Jersey Girl, or maybe it was Zack and Mary Make a Porno. I don't remember. But yeah, he didn't do that.
That's so messed up.
It is just sick, twisted, and wrong.
Moviepoopshoot.com.
Moviepoopshoot.com. Yeah.
I bet somebody's got that one now.
I'm not even going to Google that. There's no telling where that goes.
I got to know. We're going to bring this up and we're going to see where
this week's ransomware victim is moviepoopshoot.com.
Buy this domain.
How much is it worth?
I didn't even look. I already closed it.
I bet it's worth a little money.
Probably so.
It's probably worth some money.
Oh man.
Yeah. How would you like that to just bounce directly to your site?
Yeah, because everyone is typing that sucker in.
Oh yeah. Everybody's typing that in. Well, should we bring this absolute spastic, crazy thing to a halt?
I think we should, before, we sully ourselves any further.
I mean, I don't even know who hosted this thing.
You did, obviously.
What do you mean I did, obviously?
Because I still have no idea what we were talking about. You must have hosted this.
I don't know what to call this.
You're the one that said, when I unplugged my headphones, you were saying, hey, we're already 20 minutes into the episode. That's great. What the fuck were we talking about?
I don't know. I'll figure something out. I will, I promise.
And today's sponsor for this week's episode is moviepoopshoot.com.
Oh my God. Let's see. Here we go. All right. I wasn't prepared for this. Well, if you'd like to tell us what this episode is about, you can send an email to show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can tweet us at Paul_E_Schooly. I give up. Just don't tweet me. Or you can join us at the Listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group, where all the insane happens. You can find us at youtube.com/DRS podcast if you want to see our ugly mugs. And for as little as $1 a month, you can become a Patreon patron. A Patreon patron. A patron.
Become a patron.
Man, I'm having trouble with this.
The English language is so hard.
It is just, I have not been able to speak right for days. I'm beginning to wonder if my broken area is like on the fritz. Anyway, for as little as $1 a month, you can become a patron of DRS, get access to exclusive shows, live shows, archives, yada, yada, whatever. Whatever that thing is, join us. And at the $10 level patrons, we have this week's folks. Man, I've screwed this outro up so badly. Just so badly. So incredibly badly.
It's like a train wreck. We just can't tear our eyes away. It's
not just me, a twain whack.
A twain whack. Cannot tear our eyes away.
And our $10 patrons this week are Sue, get out of my way or get run over, Bayman. JD, I've got Puppy on my shoe barker. Isabel, sorry I went missing. PayPal had a stroke. Cushy, I don't know what that means. Ted, Turd Ferguson. Chris Winder. Nathan, which wristwatches are Swiss? Yeah, I screwed that one up. Which wristwatches are Swiss? Fuck you, Nathan Petty. Sandy Manpants, Lisa Slack, Andre Conde Moraes, Tracy Bodine, DJ Chamberlain, Devin Lee, JR, Bigfoot is real and he touched Mixon in the naughty parts. Han Lee. I'll finish that for you. On Manatsu, John Kilgallen. Drew feels like a real author, Bernardi. Congratulations, Drew. And Rick jonesing for a toe tag, Shaw. And finally, Jonathan Zarusin. Thanks you very much, patrons. You keep the lights on. Thank you. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention our wonderful host, Pod Hoster. It makes all 500 billion episodes of DRS available for you to torture your ear holes.
So don't listen to the early episodes. Don't do it.
Do
not do it.
Yeah, don't do it. What's wrong with you people? What's wrong with you people? We always want, I mean, even when Justin was flagshipping this thing, he was wondering the same thing. What's wrong with you people? Anyway, that notwithstanding, it is time for us to get out of here. Terry?
Paul?
Been fun. And we will see y'all next week.
Aloha.